All right, let's talk about the 1987 classic Wall Street. It's a film that pretty much defined a generation with its incredible story of ambition, power, and, well, a whole lot of excess. But here's the thing. Behind all those sharp suits and iconic lines, there's a tangled web of really complex financial deals and illegal schemes. If you've ever watched it and felt a little lost in all the jargon, trust me, you are not alone. So in this explainer, we're going to untangle it all, from corporate raiders to insider trading. Let's dive in.
You know, we have to start right here. This is the line that defined not just a character, but an entire decade. It's Gordon Gekko's famous, or infamous, declaration, and it's the philosophy that drives literally every single move in this story. This isn't just some quote, it's the engine of the entire film. So, our story kicks off in 1985. Meet Bud Fox. He's a young, hungry junior broker, and he is desperate to make his mark. We get thrown right into the absolute chaos of a pre-digital trading floor. I mean, it's just a sea of screaming, ringing phones where fortunes are made or completely wiped out in a matter of seconds. And in this world, Bud has his eyes on the biggest shark in the tank, Gordon Gekko.
Now, to really get what makes Bud's world tick, you have to understand the motivation. See, back then, brokers weren't really paid to make you rich. They were basically salesmen paid on commission. So every single trade, whether it was a win or a loss for the client, put money directly into their pocket. You can imagine this created this relentless pressure to just keep trading, keep the phones ringing, whether it was actually a good idea or not.
So you've got Bud, and he's immediately caught between two totally opposing philosophies. It's like the classic angel and devil on his shoulder. On one side, you've got Lou Mannheim, the firm's old-school moral compass, warning him that money makes you do things you don't want to do. And on the other shoulder, well, it's Gordon Gekko, whispering that greed isn't just okay, it's good, it works.
So what exactly is Gordon Gekko? He's what you call a corporate raider. And this isn't your average investor. A raider buys up a massive chunk of a company's stock specifically to gain control. The goal usually isn't to run the company better, it's often to just break it into pieces, sell everything off, the assets, the factories, the whole shebang, for a quick, huge profit. And if that destroys the company and everyone's jobs, so be it.
And that brings us to the moment where everything, and I mean everything, changes for Bud. After calling Gekko's office every single day, he finally, somehow, gets a meeting. But to impress a guy like Gordon Gekko, you need more than just a smart stock pick. You need an edge, a real one.
And where does he get that edge? Of all places, his own father. His dad is a union leader at a small company called Blue Star Airlines, and he just casually mentions that the airline is about to get a favorable ruling from the FAA. It's this tiny piece of information that nobody else knows, and it will absolutely cause the stock to skyrocket. This is the first domino.
Okay, let's be crystal clear here. This tip is the textbook definition of insider information. It's material, meaning it's big enough to move the stock price, and it's non-public. Trading on this kind of knowledge is totally, completely illegal. It's the ultimate unfair advantage, and as a licensed broker, Bud knows this is a line you just do not cross. Ever.
But he crosses it anyway. He's desperate to get in with Gekko, so he walks into that office and offers him the Blue Star tip. Right there, he chooses ambition over ethics. And Gekko, who sees this young, hungry kid who's willing to break the rules, he places the buy order. That single act is Bud's point of no return.
Well, the Blue Star tip pays off big, and just like that, Bud is in. He's part of Gekko's inner circle, but Gekko makes it very clear he's not paying for honest work. He wants more illegal information. And Bud, well, he quickly becomes Gekko's apprentice in the dark arts of manipulating the market.
Bud's first real test has nothing to do with analyzing stocks. It's straight-up corporate espionage. Gekko tells him to literally follow a rival raider, a guy named Sir Lawrence Wildman, to figure out what company he's planning to take over next. So you see, Bud's already graduated from just passing on a tip to actively hunting for illegal information.
So once Bud figures out that Wildman is going after a company called Anacott Steel, Gekko unleashes his full playbook. And this isn't just buying a stock. It's a four-step assault designed to create a total frenzy. First, he buys options, which gives him leverage. Then he has Bud start pumping the price with small trades to create movement. Step 3, he gets other brokers to buy in, which manufactures even more demand. And then the final touch. He leaks a coded tip to a reporter. Blue Horseshoe loves Anacott Steel. Each step builds on the last, creating this artificial wave that he can ride for a massive profit.
Now, you might be wondering, how in the world do they get away with this? Well, they build a pretty sophisticated system to cover their tracks. Gecko gives Bud power of attorney over his accounts, which creates a layer of plausible deniability. If anything goes wrong, Gecko can just claim Bud acted alone. They use offshore accounts with fake names to wash the money, and they even use straw buyers, basically just friends who make trades for them, to throw regulators off the scent. It's a full-blown criminal operation.
So Bud is now flush with cash, he's full of confidence, and he decides he wants to do his own deal. He wants to be the raider this time, but, for a good cause. So he pitches Gecko on taking over Blue Star Airlines, the same airline his father works for, with the goal of actually turning it around and saving it.
The whole plan relies on a classic raider move, the leveraged buyout, or LBO. The easiest way to think about it is like this. Imagine you're buying a house, but you use the value of the house itself as the collateral for the mortgage. In an LBO, Gecko and Bud would borrow a ton of money to buy Blue Star, and they'd use Blue Star's own assets to secure those loans.
Bud thinks this deal is a slam dunk because of this number right here. See, Blue Star has an overfunded pension plan with an extra $75 million in cash just sitting there. To Bud, that's a nice safety net for the company. But to Gecko? Well, to Gecko, that's the entire prize.
And this is the great betrayal. The gut punch. Bud discovers Gecko's real plan. He has absolutely no intention of saving the airline. He's going to do what raiders do. Fire everyone, sell off the planes and the routes for parts, and most importantly, he's going to raid that $75 million pension fund for himself, leaving all the employees with absolutely nothing.
Bud is furious, and he decides to beat Gecko at his own game. His revenge plan is brilliant because he just reverses Gecko's own tactics. He gets all his friends to pump the stock to drive the price way up, forcing Gecko to pay more. Then, at the absolute peak, he has everyone secretly sell their shares all at once, which crashes the price and traps Gecko. It's a perfect checkmate, and it clears the way for a white knight, Gecko's old rival, to swoop in, buy the company for cheap, and save it from being destroyed.
And he pulls it off. Bud saves the airline, he costs Gecko a fortune on the deal, and he gets his revenge. It feels like a perfect Hollywood ending, right? The hero wins, the villain gets what he deserves. But in the real world of Wall Street, it's never quite that simple. Because here's the thing, even though he did the right thing in the end with Blue Star, Bud still broke the law, a lot. He can't just erase all the insider trading, the market manipulation, the money laundering. The film ends with Bud being arrested, finally facing the real-world consequences for every illegal deal he ever made.
Way back in the beginning of the movie, Gecko tells Bud to read Sun Tzu's The Art of War, and this quote becomes incredibly ironic by the end. Gecko lived by this philosophy, planning his raids with secret, meticulous detail. But in the end, Bud used that exact same principle of preparation to orchestrate Gecko's downfall.
And that kind of brings us to our final thought here. The movie came out in 1987, but its central theme feels just as relevant as ever. Gordon Gekko became this cultural icon, and a lot of people saw him not as a villain, but as a role model. So it leaves us with this big, provocative question to think about. Has anything really changed since then? Does greed, for lack of a better word, still work?